Chair lays out HJR 169 and recognizes Representative Clardy to explain the resolution.
Thank you, Chairman Thompson, members. Appreciate the opportunity to present House Joint Resolution 169 to you this evening, not as my notes say morning. This establishes a new constitutionally dedicated fund for our water infrastructure. More importantly, proposes to dedicate a revenue stream to that fund. Two key points I'd like to make before going into detail on what the resolution proposes. First, the legislature and Texas voters have already approved dedicated funds for transportation infrastructure and state parks. Having a reliable, consistent revenue stream allows TxDOT to plan and execute their needs for roads. Our state's water infrastructure needs and deserves significant support in that regard as well, a reliable stream if we're going to make meaningful progress towards developing the water infrastructure we need. This involves funding for developing new water supplies. It also addresses problems associated with our aging, deteriorating water and wastewater systems. I think we all remember what happened recently in the city of Odessa, where the system collapsed. A city of 100,000 people had no water in the middle of the desert. Not a good situation. I think that's going to become more of a norm, not the exception if we don't act on these needs now. The price tag for the projects we're discussing, which include new and expanded water supplies, it includes repairing aging drinking water systems, it includes fixing deteriorating wastewater systems, and also building flood control and mitigation projects. You add all those in, depending on who you want to listen to. According to the Texas Water Development Board, at least 80 billion. The feds a long time ago said 55 billion, but that was from a 2013 estimate. Witnesses you hear today from Texas 2036 put the number in a 50-year period close to $150 billion. So this is the time to start on this project now. I'd like to point out that this joint resolution is proposed to work in concert with Senate Bill 28, which you heard this morning. I offer this resolution in the spirit of being supportive and complementary of the significant water policy proposals already underway. Joint Resolution 169 proposes to establish a new water fund, the Texas Water Fund, within the Texas Constitution to be administered by the Texas Water Development Board and to fund these infrastructure projects. More critically, HJR 169 proposes to dedicate the collection of certain sales tax revenue to the Texas Water Fund. Currently, Section 7C within Article 8 of the Constitution dedicates the first $2.5 billion that exceeds the $28 billion of annual sales tax revenue to the credit of the State Highway Fund for certain purposes. HJR 169 proposes to amend the Constitution to require that the next $250 million in excess annual sales tax dedications be dedicated to the Texas Water Fund. This change, if approved by Texas voters, would establish a stable, predictable revenue stream for our long-term needs. In closing, it's simple. I think we all know it. We need reliable water supplies and functioning water and wastewater systems to keep our state and regional economies humming. HJR 169 proposes a substantial commitment by the state towards the prioritization of our water infrastructure needs. Chairman, I believe there are several witnesses who signed in this morning. I'm not sure we have available today, but with that, I would reserve the right to close and happy to answer any questions.
Okay, great. Members, are there any questions for Representative Clardy? All right, sir. We'll reserve your ability to close. Oh, okay, the chair calls Carlos Rubenstein. Okay. I'm going to call his name a couple of times. Carlos Rubenstein. Okay, not here. We're going to show him for the bill, or for the resolution, I'm sorry. Jeremy Mazur, Senior Policy Advisor, Texas 2036, show you for the bill. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you.
Members of the committee, for the record, my name is Jeremy Mazur, Senior Policy Advisor, Texas 2036. I'm here to testify in strong support for House Joint Resolution 169 by Representative Clardy. This is, by my estimate, is probably the largest water infrastructure funding bill that this committee has seen in over a decade. This resolution creates a new fund for water and, more importantly, establishes a dedicated revenue stream for water. I provided the committee with a one-pager that describes the magnitude of the long-term investments this state will need to make for our water infrastructure. And we look at that price tag, which is north of $100 billion, as Chairman Clardy said, these costs are enormous. The 2022 state water plan forecasts that state and local governments are going to have to spend over $80 billion over the next 50 years on developing new water supplies. Of that amount, $47 billion will require state financial assistance. In the meantime, the price tag for repairing our aging, deteriorating water and wastewater systems exceeds $55 billion, according to federal estimates. And these estimates are from the last decade, and they don't account for inflation. The last time the legislature took meaningful action to prioritize funding for water infrastructure was 10 years ago with the creation of the SWIFT in 2013. Although the Water Development Board has capably administered this fund to finance new and needed water supply projects, and the board deserves commendation for its effort, our water supply and aging infrastructure challenges warrant greater attention. That's why the proposed dedicated revenue stream within HDR 169 is so important for our water sector. The water infrastructure needs of our state are severe and escalating. Just as the legislature and Texas voters have approved dedicated revenue streams for our parks and transportation infrastructure, the same really needs to happen for water. A dedicated revenue stream for the Texas Water Fund proposed within HJR would provide a reliable, consistent funding for both new water supply projects and for fixing our aging, deteriorating water and wastewater systems. This represents a monumental and historic change in the state's financial strategy in addressing our water infrastructure needs. It also gives the Water Development Board greater funding capacity for planning and executing long-term water infrastructure and development plans. I've already submitted a one-pager earlier this morning that shows why Texas 2036 and other chambers of commerce, business groups, and water organizations are supportive of this bill. I don't know if you guys still have it. I'll bring an updated copy because we have more associations joining us as of today. But we think there's broad community support for this proposition. Thank you for your time, and I welcome any questions you may have.
Okay, members, any questions? Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, we now recognize Representative Clardy Close.
Thank you, Chairman Thompson and members. I had a real stem winder of a closing to deliver today, but I think in the interest of time, I won't do that. I will just remind you, this is Texas. We have droughts on a regular basis. You can't wait till you're thirsty before you start digging a well. We've had an interesting confluence of events in Texas. We're blessed to have a huge state surplus. We know this is a need. This exists. Now's the time to work on it. This legislature, I hope, will avail ourselves of the opportunity to do this. And I would ask members for your favorable consideration.
Thank you very much. There's no objection. The resolution will be left pending. Hearing none, the resolution is left pending. Let the record show that Representative Rogers is present.